Hello. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 28. It feels like it's been a long time,
I
but we're still
know.
here.
I know. We're still
Um,
kicking.
yep. I am John, as my name thing says below, and this is Andrea, as her name thing says below. How are you doing after this longer break?
Pretty good. Not a whole lot going on here. We have a new puppy running around the house, but
Wait, what?
that's only because we're dog sitting.
Okay.
But we've gotten so many questions about, oh, did you guys get a new puppy? Nope. We're just dog sitting for some friends.
Okay.
But it's definitely a taste of what life we'd been contemplating getting two dogs, and it's a taste of what life would be like. And it is chaotic. It is crazy. So I think
Yeah.
we're good with the one.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So is it actually a puppy?
No, it's Dana and Phil's dog Gilbert, who is
Oh,
still
okay,
young. I mean, I think he's
sure.
2, but no, he's not quite a puppy.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's always fun. We've been dog sitting here and there too,
Yeah,
or I guess once, and will be again in a couple weeks. So,
for your
but
in-laws.
yep. hmm
How does that go? How does Dabby get along?
Oh, they get along fine. Just Dobby likes to play and do dog things, and Zoe doesn't.
Yeah.
She likes to just sit there. So every
Yep.
once in a while, she'll get like in a mood and she wants to play or something, but not very much.
Sure. Yeah,
So
it's lucky like Ivy and Gilbert get along pretty well. They both like to, play. I've noticed Ivy's idea of playing is not quite Gilbert's idea, where
okay.
like they'll be like running around and like, doing their little like, dog like feint and attack and, swiping at each
Yep.
other and whatever. And Ivy has just started like sitting on Gilbert or like trying to just like hold him down with her body. And it just looks so ridiculous. She looks like the neighborhood bully, like sitting on a kid for his lunch money. She just like, and Gilbert's still kind of down there, like, taking a swipe at her or whatever. And Ivy's just like, nope, I'm just gonna like lean a shoulder on you and just sit here.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, it's very
Her
odd, but
wrestling
very
moves.
funny.
Yep.
Yep. So she's evolving. She's getting more sophisticated in her attacks.
Nice. Okay. Well, great.
How was your week been? You were the one on vacation of sorts.
Yeah, just hanging out at the lake for a little while.
Mhm.
Weather was pretty much perfect for it,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
couldn't complain about that. Got some fish, took some naps, did some shopping.
Nice.
I found new comic book shop,
Oh,
and had only been open a few weeks, so
okay.
I went in there and got plenty of things.
Find
I
any
was telling
treasures?
myself, well, I don't know, I don't know if they're treasures or not. I'm not really looking for like a valuable
Sure.
specific thing, just something I want to read.
Mhm.
And in that case, yeah, I did find some stuff. So um, it I told myself a while ago I wasn't going to really buy physical comics anymore,
Mhm.
just because it take up so much space, and
Sure.
I have so many already. But I don't know. Here I am, bought some more. So
Why not?
yep.
Why not? You're
Uh,
supporting local
but
business and a new
yep.
business at that. So, good on
Right.
you.
I One of the most I got was some Daredevil comics
Mm.
written by Joe Quesada, who's a big shot at Marvel now, and
Yeah.
um, so that kind of worked out well because I brought a
Yeah.
few of the Daredevil Netflix show episodes because my parents had never seen it,
Oh,
and
perfect.
they were interested in or watching it a little bit. So we watched the first 4 episodes of that in the evenings or whatever, and
Nice.
so yeah, I got some of that in and started a new game too. I picked
Okay.
up blasphemous on the Nintendo Switch before heading out.
Okay.
And
And what is the storyline there? Because I have not heard of that.
yeah, very I couldn't say I would be able to explain it very well at this point, but some sort
Okay.
of event. I don't know if they call it the great calamity or the divine something or another occurred, whatever, and you're the penitent one, and you're out on this mission to like seek out these other, I think, holy beings or something. The world is looks very dark, very
Okay.
grim, and it's just got this, like, it's a game made in Spain, and it's very like, some of that I think adds to a unique feel that the game
Sure.
has. It looks a little different than some other things. It's very sort of Catholic in its where it
Okay.
derives its horror, you know.
Sure.
I don't know. It's a fun style. I like the combat so far. It's
Mm-hmm.
a like 2D platformer Metroidvania kind of game.
Okay. Sure.
And yeah, not too far into it, but I like it.
That's good.
So that's that. Yeah. That's been the week.
Nice.
All
Nice.
fun things.
Well, it's kind of pretty perfect that your parents wanted to watch Daredevil because I also have started Daredevil on Netflix because I haven't really watched any of like the MCU on Netflix. I've not watched any like Jessica Jones or Luke Cage, The Defenders, anything. So figured I'd start at the beginning with Daredevil. Because the only thing I've seen, of course, of that is the Ben Affleck movie, which is not good.
Mhm.
To be kind, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but he's just not Daredevil. You know what I mean? He just doesn't do it for me. And so far, what I've seen of Charlie Cox, I really enjoy him. Um,
Mhm.
I just think he just brings a better gravitas to the character, and I don't know. It was weird. Like Ben Affleck almost seemed to be having like too much fun as Daredevil. So I
Okay.
like that the Netflix show is like grittier, deeper, darker, a little bit more real feeling in this sort of like we're in Hell's Kitchen and everything is going terribly wrong and there's corruption everywhere. It just felt I don't know. Yeah, I mean, not that comics shouldn't be fun and not that you shouldn't have elements, but I don't know. The whole tone just felt a little glossy and light in the Daredevil film, from what I remember. So
So did you start this when I like mentioned it, or is this coincidence?
this is coincidence, actually.
Wow. That's crazy. Okay.
I
Perfect.
think I was like 2 episodes in when you had mentioned, like, oh, hey, we've talked, a lot about obviously the DC EU and like the movie TV kind of disconnect, and maybe should we talk about Marvel? And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, hey, that's pretty perfect because I'm starting Daredevil. Um,
Yeah. Awesome.
so yeah, I'm about 5 episodes in now. I just like watched, maybe 10 minutes of the 6 episodes, so I couldn't really say anything about that. But yeah,
Okay.
really liking this a lot better. Um,
Cool.
I think
Yeah.
everybody's pretty great as far as casting goes in the TV show. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you started with Daredevil because, like you said, obviously it was the first one to come out,
hmm
but it's also the one that continually has the passionate fan base behind it to like, please incorporate this still. Please
right.
bring these people back. Hashtag Save Daredevil is a thing,
Yes.
and that's the only one really of the shows that has that behind it, you
hmm
know. And I think in parts is the passion that the actors have for the role
Yeah.
and their outward um you know calls to, yes, I would gladly resume this role,
Right.
whereas like in the other shows it seems like they're kind of done, you know.
hmm
They're fine with not doing more of it.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously haven't seen a whole lot. I'm not terribly far in, but yeah, I mean, I would join the calls to bring it back because so far it's excellent. Um, and I mean, so I really enjoy the thing about Daredevil, and I did like this about the movie too because I adore Michael Clark Duncan. And I just
Oh,
thought like he was probably one of the better portrayed characters in the movie. And
sure.
one of the people who just did better than a lot of the other people. Like his
Mhm.
role was better and his acting was better. But I also enjoy the villain of the first season, Wilson Fisk. I'm really loving this weird blend between villain and human that the show is doing, and it all just very much works for me.
Yep.
Like showing him going on a date and like wanting
Yep.
to impress a girl in a very like real way is
Hmm.
really enjoyable for me. So I just really like that kind of juxtaposition that the show is playing with, and again, like in a realistic sense.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, plenty of times a show, if I'd watch it and then give it a second chance, I remember what happens, and it's kind of a test of like, is it worth it? And
Right.
I've I had started Daredevil over again this winter, I think, got
Oh,
in
okay.
a ways or whatever, and still liked it. And so now starting again, watching with my parents, still love it just as much.
Yeah.
Still appreciate a lot of things about it. It's like it's it blends well that I don't know, the real world with something fantastical. And yeah, it's just an all-star cast,
Mhm.
Rosario Dawson is in there, and it's
Mhm.
just there's a lot of good talent, and it's to me was a breath of fresh air when it
Mhm.
first came out
Sure.
from what the formulaic Marvel thing, you know.
Yeah.
I just never find myself getting that excited for the next Marvel movie anymore.
Sure.
um, and so this was different and more dramatic, and it's not perfect. Like you'll
Right.
see later, Netflix demanded a certain set number of episodes, and so they stretched for it in places when
Sure.
it could have been cleaned up more.
Sure.
But one of my favorite things that Marvel has put out, and
Mhm.
I wish they'd at least put it on the Disney Plus or something,
Yeah, for sure.
if they were able to do that somehow. But I guess that'll lead to another kind of topic I have later. So,
Sure. Yeah, I was watching some of the episodes, and Chris was kind of, floating around in the background and checking it out, and um we were just talking about, it happened to be one of the more like violent scenes, and he was like, "Wow, that's, they're not holding back there, they're really showing you
right.
everything." And he was asking like, "Okay, so, I don't really know that much about Daredevil, but like is he one of those like superheroes that's like, oh, I can't, hurt people and I can't kill people, and is he holding back, or, is he the one that just, shot that guy and he's just like cool with, whatever happens?" And I was, kind of getting a feel for what was going on and saying like, I feel like it's mixed. Like he's not the whole like moral dilemma of like, I won't kill, it's my line and I won't cross it, but he's not exactly like bringing a gun out into the streets either. So I kind of appreciated that sort of like more realistic, like his moral code might be a little wavy at times, it
Hmm.
might just kind of flop around. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, so I was just saying how much I enjoy that because Marvel is very like, you know, we beat people up and we don't kill people. And then Daredevil was kind of a shot of like, well, I mean, I'm not gonna like go out and plan it, but if it happens, meh, like
Well, as you get further, you'll definitely see this thing addressed more and more
sure,
throughout the series,
sure.
and it's uh, it's one
Oh
of those
yeah.
things where,
Sorry, our
um,
producer's writing notes. Alan's talking
oh
about how
yeah,
the Punisher doesn't have these sort of qualms about killing
yep.
people.
And yeah, that's a thing. Like I'm not well versed in the comic history of Daredevil. Is part of why I'm excited to read more.
Yeah.
I remember being attracted to some of the issues when I was young, looking
Hmm.
at some of the art and be like, wow, that looks really cool. It was definitely a dark tone. It to me
Sure.
reminded me of like a more realistic gritty version of Marvel Batman, just
Yeah.
from what I was absorbing of it at the time, you know.
Yeah, that's
But I
funny. That's
never,
actually quite literally what
yeah,
Chris said. Not
mhm,
about the comics, but about the show.
yeah, and I yeah, I like the uncleanliness. We always joke that, you know, he doesn't want to kill people. He'll just beat people till they're a vegetable for the rest of their life. You
Right.
know, it's like, well, I'm not sure if that's better or not, you know.
Exactly.
Um, so, but yeah, it's really difficult in a superhero thing to play with the morality of it
Hmm.
because vigilantism isn't really moral. I mean,
Right.
I mean, um,
Yeah,
so it's
depending on how
tough.
you look at it. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
right. So, but I think as good as you can, as a show can do, this does with
Yes.
that. Um,
Yeah.
so,
And I did like the little mentions, like drops here and there of the larger MCU.
hmm
You know, they kind of
well, yeah,
introduce the show and they say like, "Oh, remember that incident?" And they're clearly talking about, the first Avengers movie in New York,
yes,
what happened there. And then, they're some of the villains are talking about why they're having such trouble with, the guy in the black mask. And it's like, well, if he was, had an iron suit and a magic hammer, I'd understand why you have the trouble. And it's
right,
just like great
yes.
little like slips in there of like references. So I'm enjoying the
But
way that like this is and isn't part of the MCU.
it just makes me mad.
It makes you
It's
mad.
just,
Okay. Why is
when I
that?
first saw it, and when I first saw it, I too was excited. I was like, oh, that's cool, you know.
Hmm.
But it is definitely one of those things where it's the, you know, it's the, I don't know, the weak little brother that has to name drop the family or
Mm,
something, but the family never talks about the weak little brother.
yeah,
You know, they step all over him and don't care and whatever. But you know, he can, well, I'm part of this, you know, and
sure,
but no one else cares. And so
sure.
it's there's no uh you know, reciprocation of the mentions or the love here. You know, there's the
So
perfect example. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was actually just gonna ask for like, further along in the series, do they do more? Because I like this level. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like if it stays at this sort of like random, just like acknowledgement that other, things are out there, like that would be okay with me. But like they don't need to be like, oh, I wonder if I should call up Thor or like, Iron
Mm.
Man's here. Like, we should name drop Iron Man.
No, at this point, or as far as I recall, basically they get that stuff out of their system at the beginning here.
Oh, okay.
They kind of, it's sort of it's that, you know, fans like the Easter eggs or the callbacks or the crossover, and they
Yeah,
kind of letting it be known that we're playing in the same world.
sure.
But then it kind of stops because it becomes clear that, and I don't know if this is why, but it becomes clear that the films are not going to, they do not think they're part of the same place,
Sure.
the same universe. You know,
Sure.
there was a big talk when the first, I think, Infinity War came out,
Hmm.
and they were saying how, okay, so they show up, this ship shows up now in New York,
Right.
and Iron Man is there, and then Spider-Man shows up. Like, why would no defenders be there?
Right.
Like, this is their home turf. You know,
Right.
Daredevil went swing in, Jessica Jones went come and bash someone's face in. Like,
Right.
you know, so they wasted the opportunity there to
Mhm.
bring in to the film universe these
Sure.
characters. And so that was a clear indicator that they didn't care and weren't going to. So
Sure.
yeah.
That is a bummer. Because I do that's true. They could, yeah, Alan just said they could still interact with Spider-Man. Because I was thinking about like so many superheroes are concentrated in New York and they all seem to have these like very specific sections that they're in.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you like just agree about that and not
I'm
like
in
run into
Brooklyn.
each other and like I don't
I'm in
know.
Hell's Kitchen. Yeah,
Right.
right.
It's just
Yeah.
it's very funny. Like superheroes just like really love New York City, but they love like really specific sections of it.
But that's
So,
what was cool with, I mean, they do that in comics, you know.
right.
Daredevil and Spider-Man run into each other all the time, you know, like that's
Right.
their So
Yeah, I would
I
love something like that because it would feel like if you're I mean, just the way that like they're portrayed, they're pretty much I mean, I know they have their like neighborhoods and stuff, but they are all over the city at some point, you know what I mean? Depending on,
yep, right.
what they're currently doing. So it's like, yeah, you would just like be like, "Oh, hey, coming in like to your neighborhood. This bad guy's here too." So,
I see people say like, "Oh, you couldn't have Daredevil in the MCU because he's not as powerful as Spider-Man or something." But firstly, you have Black Widow in the
right.
Avengers. It's
Hawkeye.
not like some god. Yeah, Hawkeye, exactly. They make these people fit in because you can have different roles. You have different objectives that need to happen. They don't
Right.
need to like go head to head. And on top of that, when you look in the comics, again, someone like um, Daredevil and Spider-Man do things
Mhm.
together all the time. Daredevil, I read a comic where Daredevil was tracking down um, Captain America. And they weren't on
No,
opposing
sure.
sides. They were kind of going towards the same thing, but he could like tell like this guy, he's a little faster than I am. And like, but he could follow his like heartbeat and stuff, you know?
Sure.
And,
Yeah, stuff like that would be
and
cool to see.
yeah, in one issue, I think Daredevil is face off against the Hulk and he almost dies, understandably,
Yeah.
but it's still, you know, it's still a fight or whatever. So like that's not a good excuse.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna say, I mean, kudos to Daredevil, like pretty much anybody would be on the losing side of that. I mean, it's, pretty
right.
obvious,
Yeah.
I think, even for an Avenger.
Loki's
I
on
mean,
the losing side of that.
no
you know,
kidding.
you know,
I mean,
so
Thor like gets the upper hand, but like has a lot of advantages over say like Captain America, even though obviously still very strong, but not like godlike strong. So I just feel like
yep,
there'd still be
yep.
some losing effects of that. So,
Well, as you get further into it, we'll have to have an episode. We'll have to decide how we want to do a discussion. If we want to do it like on the
yeah,
whole Daredevil series, if we want to do it on more Netflix things in general, or
sure.
what. And in that at that point, I'll talk about like some of the. I know one person that doesn't like this show, and I'll bring up his points
Okay.
just for the topic of discussion. So,
Okay.
um, but yeah. Well, that's a lengthy intro there. That's good.
For sure.
Um, I see we're both reading some stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm currently, yeah, in the middle of a reread of all the Dresden Files series. Um, Even though when I watched Jim Butcher's Comic-Con interview before Peace Talks came out, he was like, "You don't need to like go back and read the whole series." But I don't know. I like to do that kind of stuff. They're such like quick, easy reads that I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna do it anyway. So I'm nearing the end point now where I'm like just two books back from the previous end of the series, and we'll be able to start peace talks. So that'll be pretty great.
Okay.
Um, and then I also am reading some Lovecraft stories just because Lovecraft Country from HBO is going to be premiering August 16th. I'm pretty pumped about that. I watched again like the Comic Con panel for that. And it was really fun because we got a little bit more in depth, like teaser trailers about, how the show is going to be structured, which was a little different than I had thought. It's sort of like they're not starting out in like typical like Lovecraft Country, which is like, Eastern Coast, rural kind of almost like 13 colonies kind of imaginative area. So yeah, so they're not starting out there. They're doing like a road trip following this family who finds out that they have an inheritance um in this area and like goes to find it, and then they sort of like encounter trouble along the way and then get there and of course encounter more trouble of a typically Lovecraftian nature, like dystopic monsters and things like that. So yeah,
Okay.
very excited about that. Looks really
Cool.
good. Hoping it lives up to the promise. So,
Yeah. Nice.
yeah. And then I also finished a movie, A Simple Favor, which has been out for a while. But I I sort of didn't want to watch it because I didn't want it to be bad. Like I was so excited about it. Like Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick star in this movie. And it's
Oh, yes. Okay.
yeah, and it's directed by Paul Feig, and I really love his work. But for some reason, I was just like really nervous about this that it wasn't going to be
Okay.
that good. Totally nervous for nothing. It's amazing. It's so
Okay.
so good. It's like this great mystery. It starts off with the friendship between these two women, and one of them goes missing, and then the other goes to like look for her. It's fantastic. Like the acting is just perfect, and I mean, I guessed some of it, but it's definitely got enough great surprises that you will not guess everything.
Okay.
So I thought it was really
Yeah.
well done.
I wanted to see that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
I would recommend it. It's definitely also the kind of movie that goes quickly. Like everything happens in a very well paced manner. You know, you're not everything is like intense all the time, but everything moves well all the time.
I I think my parents just watched that too and really
Oh, okay.
liked
Yeah,
it.
it's very good.
Yeah. Is that on anything? Is it streaming someplace?
Amazon,
It is? Okay. All
Amazon
right.
Prime. Yeah. Yeah, it came up on like
Okay.
my recommended and I was like, what the heck? I'll just like bite the bullet
Sure.
and, I've been meaning to watch it. So, yeah, would definitely recommend doing it.
So you bring up Comic-Con panels. Did you see
Yeah.
anything else of the event that was interesting or of
Yeah,
really of note?
I did. I did end up we were talking the last time, of course, um, was right before the Lord of the Rings panel came out, like the Tolkien panel. And I did end up
Mm.
watching that. I was disappointed, unfortunately, because that was like a more of like a fan site kind of thing.
Yeah,
That was
right.
just sort of like, things are coming. Um,
Mm.
but it wasn't anything that I really cared about. Like we were talking about, it wasn't about the TV show that
Yep.
Amazon still said to be producing. So that was a little bit
Yep.
disappointing. Um, but a couple of other ones I really enjoyed. I watched the Constantine reunion panel.
Okay. I had
Um,
just started that, just barely, but
it is really fun. I'm really enjoying it.
okay.
Like Keanu Reeves is just like such a charismatic guy. He does great interviews. He's that perfect blend between like casual but knowledgeable. Like he keeps everything like really casual and fun, but it's not like sloppy casual where he's like, "Oh shit, I don't have an answer for that question."
Sure.
Um so yeah, so that was really fun. And it was also interesting for me to learn that the director, that was his first feature movie. Like he had only
Wow.
done music videos before. And Constantine was like his shot to, convince everybody like I can do feature films too.
Well, did he do a lot of other things then? Did it work?
Yeah, yeah, he has. I don't think anything quite as big as Constantine. Um, but yeah, it was just like really cool to hear him talk about his experiences. Also, side note, the director's dog was like hanging out in the background of his camera and he just like stole the show for me. He just would like move from like side to side on the couch and just like poke his head out and be like, "What's going on?" "Okay, I'm just gonna go to sleep again." And then he'd like stand up and wag, and it was adorable. So it's just like fun watching people film at home.
That movie is really underrated.
It really
And
is. I
like
agree.
I understand why it got you know, the I don't know, the bad press at first because Keanu says it right at the beginning there. It's like, well, I'm not English and I'm not
Yeah.
blonde, so I had
Yeah, I
to like
love that he
come
addressed
to
that.
grip with those things right away. But once I did, I'm like, and I I think that other than those things, he embodies the character quite well.
Pretty
Like he
perfect,
can
yeah.
play that kind of thing right.
Mhm.
And yes, I like the more recent Constantine,
Mhm.
Matt Ryan as well. He
Yeah.
brings more of the humor element.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, Keanu was great. Um, and the rest, again, another really good cast. It's a
Mhm.
really impressive cast.
Right.
Peter's Stottlemore, or whatever his name is,
Mhm.
as the devil.
Mhm.
Rachel Weisz is great in there. Um, Yeah, everything else about it screams Constantine, and it has a
Yeah.
gritty feel to it. I love what's her face? She's like always in the fashion. She's like Gabriel, the angel.
Oh, yeah. Tilda
Um,
Swinton.
yes,
Yeah. She's
she's perfect in that. She's
flawless.
great in that movie.
Flawless. Yeah, absolutely.
So I really like it. I like that movie a
hmm
lot. And it's further proof that I don't have to be a stickler about things being exactly like the source material,
True.
because it's not exact, but it has the right attitude and vibe and feel, and
Mhm.
give it a pass because it was good enough. So
Yeah, I think those are, like you said, they're issues, but they're pretty minor. I think
mhm.
if Keanu's portrayal had been more off, we would fixate more. When like one thing is off, you tend to fixate more on the other things, or if it's spot
Yeah,
on, you tend to forgive them. And I think had Keanu not done such a great job, like it would be more of an issue. It's like, well, like why did you pick him? Like he doesn't embody the character, like physically or like in his attitude. But I give those things, like you said, a pass just because I think Keanu does a great job.
Papa Midnight in his club is
I
awesome.
know.
I started listening to A Perfect Circle because of that scene in there, and then Shia LaBeouf before he went nuts.
I know. I was just
You
thinking
know?
about that. Like one of the few roles that I'm like, yeah, this works for you. Like,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can be this like dorky kid, but
Hmm.
he plays it well. He doesn't play it too over the top or annoying.
No,
It's just like
no.
just right. Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah. That was a fun panel to watch. And like you said, a good panel for an underrated movie.
mhm.
Um, and then speaking of underrated movies, one of the other panels I watched was an Edgar Rice Burroughs panel
Okay.
because I didn't know that there was a new John Carter novel coming out.
Interesting.
So
Who's
that
doing that?
was basically like the whole point of me watching that was just like being like, I want to
Hmm.
know more about this novel. I think it's called John Carter of Mars, Gods of the Forgotten,
Hmm.
author Gary
Sounds cool.
Gravel.
Okay.
So yeah, that
Interesting.
was fun.
I skimmed through the Star Wars one,
Sure.
just because I was hoping for some details on the High Republic and where that was going to go, and
Yeah.
really
Did you
didn't
get anything?
get it as far as I could tell. Like there
Sure.
was one book that seemed really focused on the younger audience that was in the High Republic era,
Okay.
but so yeah, I wasn't super impressed
hmm
there. But yeah, in terms of other reading, I've been buying
hmm
lots of books, and reading them very slowly. Um, but I started 1984. Like
Oh, wow.
I've never read that, and
Okay.
big blind spot for me.
Sure. Yeah,
So
we'll have to talk about that when you're finished. That was obviously, as an English major, definitely a required reading for me.
sure,
So
yeah.
I've read
No,
it several times.
it's enthralling thus far. I'm reading it aloud to Ashley each night before bed,
Oh,
so
okay.
we're reading it together in that way.
Little bedtime story.
Yeah, well, I'm out of practice reading aloud. You know,
Okay.
my mouth has to keep up with what I see.
Sure.
So, but yeah, no, that's fun so far.
hmm
And yeah, I'm gonna be one. I'm trying not to be one of those people that has piles of books they've never read.
Sure.
Like I've got stacks that I'm trying to work through here.
hmm
So they just had to release more video games that suck. Then
Then you have more
I can
time for reading.
I mm, so I do miss it because I used to read
Reading.
so much
Yeah.
as a kid.
Yeah.
Just a lot. And I think it helped me in school and stuff, and then shows why I like peaked and got stupid. So I stopped reading. But kids, read books.
Yes. That's our PSA for the day.
Yeah.
Kids, go read. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you read, go read.
Yeah.
Read a book, read a manga, read a comic. read stuff.
Yep. Well, we haven't gotten there yet, so I'll ask it now. What are you drinking for this episode?
I am taking our show name very literally and drinking pop on the rocks.
Okay, nice.
I
Okay.
have some ginger ale. Unfortunately, this week I have been feeling under the weather. So,
Oh no.
yeah. So that's what I got to cure my ails. So it's
Yep.
not Corona. Nobody panic. It's just a cold. Like I'm fine.
Sure. Yeah, sure it is, Andrea.
Next episode, John reports in Andrea's dead. She had the
Mhm.
Rona. She was wrong. No, I'm
Yeah,
fine.
well, I definitely don't judge someone if they cough. I mean, my dad coughs all the time, like quite a. I mean, not like hacking, but coughs. So like, I think it's one of his medications that has a
Sure.
side effect in cough. So it's like people look and like, oh my God, he's sick or something.
Yeah.
No, I've
That's
lived with him. He just does it all the time.
that's
You
the
know, so every time someone sneezes, they are not like deadly ill.
right. That's what I've been doing. Like I haven't been coughing, but I've been sneezing, and it's just like, oh God, like I'm sorry, everybody. I know it's like, perilous. I understand, like, obviously sneezing's like the worst thing because I'm just like spreading germs out there. But I'm like wearing my mask and stuff, and trying to be very careful. I've only been out, around people like once, but yeah. It is like very strange. Like, you just have the sniffles or something and people just look at you like, oh God. So
I welcome the odd looks. Bring it on. I'll just dress more odd and be like, what? You don't like my shirt? Okay.
Well, what are you drinking? Hopefully something more fun than me. My sad ginger ale here.
Well, so I was rushing before the show to drink something, and I was going to drink one of my infused liquors that I made.
Oh, okay.
But
you made them.
Yeah.
Nice. What have you been making?
So I made a vodka infused with rhubarb. That's out here. So I went and picked some rhubarb and let that sit in there for a while, and then made a Japanese whiskey that's infused with cinnamon, nutmeg, and then apples. We have an apple tree out here, and they're kind of like crab apples or whatever. So they weren't very ripe, but put that in there. And then also a berry one, kind of a mixed berry, mostly like blackberries, but there was some mulberries in there too. That's a vodka. And so it's going to have, and that one is very good. I was going to have some of that, but I worked out earlier, burned plenty. Like after vacation, I'm like, okay, I need a week to shrink my stomach. And
back on that train.
Yep. And I just was feeling thirsty. So I also have soda pop on the rocks, but I did, for good measure, put some of the rhubarb infused vodka in it.
Okay. So what did you pair the rhubarb infused vodka with? Like what soda do you have going on?
I'm calling this.
I saw you're drinking. It's blue.
Yeah, actually, it kind of, so it looks like a bomb pop before I stirred it. And so, because it had the kind of pinkish red rhubarb infused stuff on the bottom.
Okay,
sure. I stirred it up, and it kind of does taste a little like that. It's actually a limited edition Mountain Dew, like a Frostbite or something. So it's that very kind of blue raspberry kind of thing, but within the rhubarb. So yeah,
sure. Tastes good.
It tastes very good. It's very refreshing. So
nice.
Alan called out that fitness trainer's back in our chat. So thanks for tuning in.
Hey, fitness trainer.
If you've got any amazing tips for getting back into shape, a week of vacation, stuff in my face.
What? Vacation calories don't count, right?
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's less Mountain Dew. Yeah.
Burn.
That's exactly right. I have to tell you,
good.
it has been one of the harder things on my like day-to-day diet is this podcast. Because twice a week I'm like basically required to have alcohol.
Yep.
You know, basically, and it's not. I just don't normally do that. You know, I don't know,
Sure.
once a week or something. You know,
Sure.
maybe. So
Sure. Blame the podcast, John.
I know it's worth it. I'm putting on pounds for you
For
all.
this, you sacrifice for this.
No, I can. I'm back to tracking calories and working out more, so it'll be fine.
Sure.
So, okay. Well, you have some drink days. We didn't adhere to either of them.
We didn't, no, and I'm really sad about one of them because today is mead day, and there's an awesome meadery that has opened up by like White Bear Lake that I've really been wanting to go to. And they did reopen, and they've got like a little patio area. So I'm thinking like Chris and I are gonna have to take a trip up there sometime, but
Yep.
couldn't quite get there before today's show. So
Sure.
that
Yeah.
was a bummer. But then the other one is International Albarino Day. And I just like read that and was like, what is this? But apparently it's just like a coastal white wine from Italy.
Oh.
So just like a super fancy way to be like, it's from like this part of the coastline in Italy. I was like, okay, well, could have just said that.
So speaking of Italy,
Yeah,
as we can wrap up the show with later.
sure.
Have you been watching Housewives?
Yes. I'm caught up on everything.
Okay. So
I have mega
I don't
thoughts
know
for sure.
if fitness trainer or anyone else that's watching, if you like the Real Housewives, we'll get to that at the end of the show. Oh, we don't want to make people sit through that talk if they're not, you know, like tune into Podcasts on the Rocks and they expect to hear about nerdy things.
Right.
And then we blather on about
Bust out
that.
some Housewives. Yeah, no, I definitely have thoughts, so we can get to that.
Okay. All right. So Alan, be prepared. Wrapping up the show later with but in other television, in equally as scripted television, joking. Witcher is doing a prequel Witcher television show. I think they had talked they're going to do an animated show about Vesemir.
Yes, they are
doing a prequel thing on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I'm not sure. Alan says he controlled the show ends.
Yeah,
Nice.
we just get cut off. Yep.
Right. Yeah. They're like, so Housewives, boop.
Yeah.
Screencast is over.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just read quickly through, you know, this announcement. And I'm good with it. Like I'm pretty stoked about the prequel. I think it's kind of something different for Netflix to do. Because we've I think had so many like hit shows like Altered Carbon get, you know, like a live action series and then they're getting an anime. So I think that that's been like pretty popular for them to do. And of course, like you just talked about, Witcher is also still getting an anime. They're still working on that. But I think it's pretty cool that they're going back and doing like a live action prequel too. It's like kind of a next test of, you know, what they're going to do for shows.
Yep.
And it also kind of makes me think of them being directly in competition with HBO. Just because, you know, Game of Thrones so famously is still said to be getting a prequel. They had 2, of course, in the works at one point, and now they're down to 1. But I think, you know, Netflix is just kind of like trying to step into that arena and being like, listen, we have like these great fantasy shows too that people love, and you know, we're gonna build bigger and bigger empires with them.
Yep.
Whether the prequel is good or not, obviously, remains to be seen. But I think it's a good step and a solid show to take that step with.
Yep. No, for sure. I mean, yeah, like you say, you know, we're going to have, so if we have Lord of the Rings, Amazon, you know, Game of Thrones is done, but they have some other big series coming, if I'm not mistaken, in the works.
Wheel of Time.
Yes.
Amazon has. Yep.
Amazon too. Okay. So
yes, they currently have both of them.
And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to be, you know, Stranger Things end is in sight. All the Marvel Netflix stuff is done. Those tentpole, like nerdy things that could become a cultural something or another. always is the dream, of course. And so,
Right.
yeah, no, I hope if season 1 is any indicator of the rest of this and where it's going, yeah, I'm excited.
Agreed.
Um, I don't think oh, yes, I do have a transition. That's why I put it here. So, Witcher coming to Netflix, more stuff. I hope that production actually picks up and they actually do the stuff and it's not, 10 years from now. But Witcher being based on a video game, being based on a video game, a book that a video game spawned out of, I guess.
Right.
Dreams, the video game Dreams, which it's hard to call it a video game necessarily. As they mentioned in this video, even sort of a platform.
Right.
But a Cyrus sister girl, what's her name? Something
Noah.
Cyrus. Noah Cyrus, yes. In partnership with like Sony and Media Molecule, made a music video for her song, July.
Yes.
Entirely in Dreams. And I think it's amazing. What do you think?
I really liked it. On the whole, I think there were like one or two shots that I wasn't quite as impressed with.
Sure.
But I love this sort of idea, and I think it's a great. The song sounds almost like it belongs in a video game, so I felt like this was like a good song to pick to do this sort of like collaboration to create a music video for it. Like I could see the song being part of a storyline in a music in a video game. So yeah, so like I think the elements worked well together because I think there are definitely songs where you just I don't know that I would buy this blend. But yeah, I really enjoyed like the kind of close up visuals, like the beginning of the song where we're kind of close up to this frozen statue of a woman. And then we kind of keep expanding out, into this landscape around her. And I really enjoyed that sort of right up until it almost expanded too far for me. Like there's a shot towards the end where we're like skimming over like mountains and hills and things. And the landscape almost looked in a different medium than this, statue of a woman that's still there the whole time. And it was a little disconcerting for me. Like the visual effects looked different. So I had like a moment of being sort of jarred out of it a little bit. And then we sort of see like it's in this like box that's this sort of like container that's containing this little world that we've created in the music video. And I like the ending that way. I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, so I think on the whole, really great job. There was just like a little bit of like disconnect there for me.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying with some of the mixed kind of almost a mixed style a little bit. To me, it's firstly I was impressed by the song. I hadn't heard the song and I thought it was a good song.
I agree.
And then secondly, it just is amazing to me. And to me, it looks like, as much as we sometimes have issues with someone getting their creative vision to paper or whatever, this shows that the future really will belong to the creatives. Will make it's easier and easier to get your thing into existence. I mean, we've seen that in film. Before, you needed to have a very expensive camera. You're working literally with film in a dark room, chopped it, whatever. And now, in the 90s, it was getting digital cameras or little digital tapes or whatever, and you could do stuff from your home. Now anyone that has like an iPad, can shoot a movie, buy a better microphone, and you can shoot something with it. And it keeps getting more and more advanced like this, like programming. Before you want to make a video game or you may want to make something like that, you need to learn how to code.
Yeah.
And this removes that. I think we're going to see a future where more and more people we're going to get more and more creative endeavors because people they're not gonna. The barrier to entry is so low for them
Yes.
to make their own game, make their own music, make their own whatever.
Agreed.
And it's great. I just think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was a really cool kind of way to show the possibilities
Mhm.
of, this kind of collaboration between, somebody who does have produced music videos. I mean, she may
Yeah,
not be Miley Cyrus, but
absolutely.
she's still got enough budget to wrangle the studio to give her like a fully produced music video. And just to say like, listen, like I think this, sort of different vision would be cool. This is the way that I can do it, and this is a way for Sony obviously to show like the capabilities of the
Hmm.
PlayStation. So,
Yep. It's yeah, it's a great platform. I hope it keeps growing. I hope they make a big deal of like a PS5 launch for it,
yeah.
or that it,
Mhm.
works for the PS5 so people can just continue making stuff for it.
Mhm.
You can play with it in VR now.
Mhm.
Um, I really hope. I think they have something here if they take care of it, and it could become something pretty big. And I think we're going to see this more and more, like in a different way. See Fortnite doing in-game
Right.
concerts, that kind of thing, the party mode and whatever that is.
Right.
Um, it's just it's a new way for artists to deliver their content to a lot of people at
Mhm.
once. We
Yeah.
talked before about there's a person that did a new Bond, Billie Eilish.
Mhm.
Eilish. Still didn't figure that out. Um, just sitting there. Now, like I wrote it was short. It's only a few seconds long. Little
Uh-huh.
theme for our Samurai edition. I'm not a
Right.
musician. Write a thing, like it just the barrier to entry is so low on all this stuff, and I
Yes.
just am excited by it. You
I
know,
agree.
you want to write a book? Write a book, and you put it on Amazon. It's
Right.
done.
Self-publish it on Amazon.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's great. Um, more video game stuff.
Right.
Um, Halo has been so my
Mhm.
question I wanted to pose. I don't know if this has popped up in any of your news feeds or anything, but is the Xbox Series did the Xbox Series X already lose the next generation?
Tough call. Um, but I feel like if this isn't the killing blow, it's close because Halo is their cornerstone. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Like Halo is the most massive game that they have.
Yep.
Like it's I don't I yeah, with
I mean,
reaction to
technically
gameplay.
Minecraft,
Well, yeah,
because
but I
but it's
mean
not associated with Xbox.
exactly, that's what I mean.
And
Like Halo is
yeah,
associated with Xbox. That's like their
yes,
most directly tied to them game.
yeah,
And
it's
it's
their
the biggest one
mascot.
that they have. Yeah, with the reaction to gameplay being mixed, yeah. I mean, this is big trouble
Yep.
for Xbox. And like I said, if it's not a killing blow, it's a mortally wounded one because they what do they have that can make up for this?
Right.
I'm not personally surprised that the gameplay met with mixed response because we already talked about like their demo that they did and I was feeling mixed about it as well.
Hmm.
Um so I'm not shocked.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is bad.
I mean, there are memes going around. They're taking the one bad guy, taking his face and putting on different things, and just
I've seen
comparing
that.
it to like God of War
Yeah.
and a current gen PlayStation 4 game that looks
Hmm.
stunning. And I
Hmm.
totally I mean, we're getting mixed responses from Microsoft already. It seems, they had
Hmm.
some people were saying at first, well, this is not a finished game,
Hmm.
so have some you know weigh your expectations that way.
Right.
But then on the other hand, there's a statement released how they'd spent a lot of time really perfecting this segment so it would really show off well.
Yep.
So that's kind of the opposite sort of talk. And I mean, I think that the game does look like Halo, and maybe that's where it comes in. They just try to make it look too classic Halo that it doesn't wow. It just looks very familiar.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, the unfortunate problem you run into is nothing new. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like you can say it's like throwback and vintage, but like you have to be very specific about that
Yep.
because I think the way it was hyped, it was like, oh my gosh, it's Halo, it's new.
Yep.
Um, yeah. And yeah,
I
there's
mean,
absolutely
it's
nothing wrong if they didn't want to go that way and like I said, wanted to recapture like some classic Halo, that's totally fine. But again, I think that's a marketing problem
yep.
and they've been
How you
suffering from
show
that
off.
for a long time.
Right. Yep. Is this how you want to show off to the world for the first time the
Mhm.
power of your most powerful console ever? Maybe they should have dropped him in some sort of jungle scenario
Right?
where it would be like animals all over the place and like really dense foliage and like the scenes from Gears 5, the opening scene is more
Mhm.
impressive because you're like
Yep.
scaling down from a helicopter and there's a big waterfall in a jungle area. This is very like open and kind of bland, you
Yeah.
know. Um and so again, it's maybe not a good example of maybe the rest of the game. There's a lot of parts that are going to look stunning, but
Mhm.
I think
Probably should have
also
waited to
they're
show that then.
yeah. Well, the other thing, this console is supposed to have ray tracing, and the ray
Mhm.
tracing isn't going to be on in this game, at least to start with. So it's not going to be part of it. So that's not a good sign. And then I think they should have maybe focused on saying this game is going to run at 4K, 120 frames per second.
Mhm.
My PC is pretty powerful, and if I want to run a high-end game at 4K at 120 frames per second, it's not going to do that for most games,
Right.
you know. So, like, that's showcasing a lot of power, and maybe they just lean too heavily into making sure this runs at 120 frames per second, and maybe then it wasn't your because people want it both ways.
Yep.
Oh, this game looks gorgeous, but it's only going to run at 30 frames per second. I'm furious. This is terrible. This is garbage. I thought your stuff was next gen. But
Mhm.
then it's like, well, okay, it's going to run at 120 frames per second. That's crazy, but it looks just like what we have now. So that's
Yep.
no good either.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, you're never gonna please everybody. Um,
mhm,
but I just don't think that that game demonstration really accomplished anything good for Microsoft or for Xbox.
yeah.
Because I think there was already a lot of feeling that they were going to be losing this console generation. And I don't think this helped any. And I think it, in fact, hurt quite a bit.
Well, they had so much goodwill coming leading up to this is that like in the games industry there've been a lot of talk for months like wow, Microsoft is really controlling the narrative, they're really showing stuff, they're really confident here, their
Mm.
system's more powerful. Why isn't Sony saying anything? Sony is like they've been so quiet. It leads to
Mhm.
all kinds of speculation. Oh, their system's underpowered. Oh, their system's overheating. All these different things. And so like and then people were super pumped about Game Pass. So
Mhm.
they had the momentum, and it seems like they just ran into a wall with
Yep.
this. And it seems kind of silly, but at the same time, like you've got millions of people that bought PS4s, and if
Mhm.
you don't make them just their jaw drop, you
Mhm.
know, I need to be on this system for something,
Mhm.
then they're not gonna switch.
Right.
So, but in the end, it'll be fine. Microsoft will again absolutely be fine because people will buy the Xbox, people will get Game Pass, people will get Game Pass on the PC. If
Mhm.
more people are gaming on the PC, then they're still making money there.
Right.
They're going to provide back end services for Sony. They're absolutely going to be fine. I just think in terms of this generation, it's seeming like right now, unless really PlayStation does have problems with like overheating or something, um, they're in trouble now.
Yep.
So,
I agree.
ah, okay. Um, Still more video game stuff, kind of.
Yeah.
We're
Kind of.
transitioning slightly.
Right.
Um, Animated Splinter Cell series
Mhm.
from the John Wick writer.
Yeah. Yeah. I was able to just read a little bit about that. I mean, I think it's another Another smart move by Netflix to snap this up to be kind of moving in this direction. They've been grabbing, I think, a lot of things, video game related or kind of nerd fantasy related,
Yeah.
to make into shows. Um, Something we can actually talk about in our next topic too, because I do know that they're still in the midst of trying to get together a Cowboy Bebop show.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I think this is a smart move, especially if like the Splinter Cell movie is truly dead. That studios were planning on.
Hmm. Hmm.
So smart move by Netflix.
I think it shows how it's almost like if you cater to nerds and people that are really big fans of something, then you'll make money.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like often is
Crazy.
this thing where, yeah, where you need to target the mass audience or something. It's like
Hmm.
often you don't just
Hmm.
target a dedicated hardcore fan base,
Hmm.
and like with enough goodwill, they'll bring in others that aren't so
Exactly.
like crazy about it, that
Well,
aren't fanatical, but
yeah, I mean, look at what happened with Game of Thrones. Like, you think the average
yep,
person was thinking, like, boy, I really want to watch this like fantasy series about,
nope, not at
kings and
all.
queens and dragons and dire wolves and all that kind of stuff. Like, sounds totally lame. And then it was massive.
Got sucked in. Yep.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think though that ultimately this is one of those. It might be a little tone deaf because people have been wanting a Splinter Cell game for a long time, and it doesn't seem like Ubisoft is going to give people that game. In
Hmm.
fact, at their event, they showed Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell in some new multiplayer game as like a playable character,
Okay.
and it just made people
Interesting.
more upset.
Yeah.
So
That's an
Splinter
interesting
Cell
move.
games, yeah, they don't fit in with Ubisoft's business model right now
Sure.
of like giant open world game that we can sell you DLC for or like game as a service.
Hmm.
So it doesn't seem like they're going to make one. But I think if they're going to do this, um, they'd be best to also have a game that comes along with it at some point soon.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. That'd be ideal. On the other hand, I mean, are they giving people content, that they're going to be used as kind of like a holdover until they get that game? Like, oh,
Yeah, maybe,
like
maybe.
I think they've marketed Netflix has done a pretty decent job of marketing some of their products as, intermediaries while you wait for something. Like, take for
Mhm.
instance, like the Altered Carbon anime came out between season 1 and season 2, and it was very marketed as like, listen, it's a new story, but it's also like for you people who like can't wait until season 2, you really want some
Mhm.
more of this universe, here we got you something. And that did
Yeah.
pretty well.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I'd liken it to Castlevania on Netflix,
Yeah.
except people have pretty much given up hope that there's going to be new Castlevania games. They're
Oh,
like,
sure,
yeah,
sure, sure.
Konami, they're
I
just
thought you were gonna say of the
interested in
show, and I was
pachinko.
about to get very upset.
Oh no. So it's like if we can get now an animated, like now Castlevania fans, they just want games that are like Castlevania, like Bloodstained now and whatever, and and then maybe re-releases of Castlevania on, I don't know, like the Switch, like it'd sell like hotcakes. They should do more of that,
Yeah.
and then an animated show. But
Mm.
Splinter Cell, the hope is still there for people that
Sure.
it's been quite a while. This property, like where is a game? Where is one? It's been a long time. So I think it just adds to the frustration.
Sure.
Um,
Understandable.
oh, we got Sam Fisher in this new multiplayer game you're not going to play, and in a
That
cartoon on Netflix. But what
yeah,
about the freaking game I've been waiting a decade for? Whatever.
that
So,
that game decision really makes less sense to me than this television
yep,
show does.
yep. Um. Okay. Yes. Animated stuff
Mhm.
to more animated stuff with Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah,
I am pumped about this.
I figured
Uh,
you would be.
yeah. So the other week, Cowboy Bebop, the soundtracks were put out on Spotify,
Mhm.
which is great. I own them all, but hey, why not be able to just stream them more easily?
Right.
That's great. So go and check that out. They've got basically all of them too. I thought maybe they just have one or two or the first three or something, but yeah, there's like five of them on there or something.
Nice.
So all good stuff. And then the limited edition vinyl goes up for pre-order on August 6th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna have to happen, I think. All these people getting me with their money with their limited edition vinyls. First there's
That's
Horizon
right.
Zero Dawn, and now it's Cowboy Bebop.
They know you. They know who you are, John. They're selling very specifically to you.
Yep. The nerd in my heart. The track list looks really good. They've got, like it's obviously a fraction of what, if you go
Right.
look at the soundtracks on Netflix or on Spotify, you'll see it's a lot of music, but they picked some good tracks for
Mm-hmm.
the record. So you should start watching that show, and
Cowboy
then you
Bebop?
can listen to the
Yes.
music and fall in love with it, and then you'll want the vinyl and stuff.
Well, then I'll be prepped too for whenever Netflix does release their live action show.
Yeah. Hey, I'll do a show and tell while we're on the topic of Bebop and vinyl. Hold on a minute. So,
All right.
I
What you
got
got for us?
a few years back. So the company that originally brought Cowboy Bebop to the West
Mhm.
went out of business, and Funimation got the rights
Mhm.
to distribute it now in the United States. And when they did that, they released some different special editions of the series. The one I bought is this.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And you'll like the discs are like a bunch of the discs are out of it and stuff,
Yeah.
but it's designed to look like because I put the discs in just other cases or whatever.
Sure.
Some of them, but it comes with art cards, lists all the episodes and stuff. It has a bunch of extras, and it's designed, to look like a record in
Yeah.
the case. And so for our viewers,
That's
not
right.
listeners, you get a treat here. And it's also been signed. There's this glorious
gonna
large
say.
space on the front.
I remember. I remember waiting in line for that.
Yes. So it's been signed by the actor for Spike and for Jet. So I still need to find Edward and Faye Valentine and Vicious and anyone else that was involved with this show. I got lots of space for you to sign this. You let me know and I'll
be on the lookout. Yeah,
Yep.
for some con appearances once those are back in action.
Yep. So it's a fun set. That's that. I'm gonna put it back on the stand now.
Be careful with it.
I will be. All right. So that's that. Andrea, watch Cowboy Bebop. Get on that.
All right.
After you've watched your Dresden stuff and Doom Patrol and Daredevil and
with all my free time that I'm gonna
the
have.
growing list. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ever growing.
Yep. In other like streaming news, I guess. So, Bebop being on Spotify, Disney Plus, I saw some ads the other day and they were advertising a couple X-Men movies in the ad. They're like showing Spider-Man and the Greatest Showman and like all this different stuff. And I thought, well, did I just miss this and you knew about it? That some of the Fox X-Men movies, 2 of them right now, are available on Disney Plus.
I feel like I remember seeing ads for those, but not quite connecting the dots in my brain.
Okay.
But yes, I did know that at least one X-Men movie was on there.
Okay.
So yeah,
I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it's a very it's very weird because I mean they're like you said, they're Fox.
And they're more recent ones.
Yeah.
They're not the older ones.
One of them, isn't it?
It's it's Apocalypse
Oh,
and
Apocalypse?
Days of Future Past.
Oh,
Days of
okay.
Future Past, that's a good one.
That is a good
So
one. Apocalypse is not, in my
great.
opinion anyway.
That's
Yeah, I
not a
love Days of
that's
Future
just fact.
Past. Yeah.
Just fact.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love Days of Future Past. That's actually honestly one of my favorite ones because I think the storyline blends so perfectly between like classic X-Men and new X-Men. Not
mhm.
only because
Yep.
like old and new actors are there, but
Yeah. No one's taking a good story from the comics and doing it closer to justice
right.
than we've gotten in a lot of the other X-Men
Hmm.
uh things.
Yeah, I just remember like from when I was a kid watching the cartoon X-Men, which I was absolutely obsessed with, like just loved it to death. Like that was like building my Saturday morning around that cartoon was definitely my life
Mm,
for a while. And I just remember like all the fights against those like giant robot guardians. That was
Sentinels.
just
Yeah.
the Sentinels, yeah. That was just such a huge part of the cartoon, and seeing them then in Days of Future Past was just like, oh my god, like the best
Yeah.
callback because I remember these so well.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was really fun. That was part of why I loved that movie.
Yeah. No, it's great. Um and like you say, yeah, it's the best of both worlds. You
Hmm.
get Hugh Jackman, Wolverine in there, but you have the some of the new people too. It's
Right, but
yeah,
you got, like, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen,
yeah.
like, they're such, like, classic, Magneto, Professor X to me, like, they
Mm-hmm.
embody it so well.
Mm-hmm. It just I mean, so we have the Fox acquisition and all this stuff, but just it was odd to me why only these two were on there so
Yeah,
far.
it's very selective and
So
odd choices, like, one good, one bad.
I'm guessing we'll get them all eventually then.
Mhm. Hopefully.
Uh, yeah, but more of this the messiness of the comic book movie world and entertainment.
Right.
So um, just makes me hopeful for New Mutants yet.
Yep,
Come on, New Mutants.
yep,
Come on, New Mutants.
bring us
So
home.
speaking of mutants, Tom Cruise is a mutant in his own way, kind of. I mean, he's
Couch jumping mutant.
what's that?
A couch jumping mutant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I've always said, other than questionable um, affiliations, Tom Cruise, I think I've always enjoyed him on screen.
Yep.
Um, and I really respect what he is able to do physically and how he commits himself. We've talked about that before.
Absolutely.
Um, and he's taking the next step and going to space.
Is
Le-
indeed.
Legit going to space. Just the other month, we saw SpaceX and NASA launch their ship to the International Space Station, and they're going to be doing that again, but with Tom Cruise on board to shoot a movie. And this is nuts. I'm excited.
It is nuts. Um, I mean, I was reading a little bit about it. It doesn't even have a script yet. So I'm a little
I
like,
mean,
okay, are we cart before the horse? Like, is this going to be any good? Because how much of like a time frame do you have to write this in before we're launching here? It wasn't exactly clear on when exactly he'd be launching into space. Um, Obviously, because again, doesn't he have to finish shooting Mission Impossible, possibly two of those before he gets into space
two of
there?
them.
Yeah.
I don't know
Isn't he
about
like finishing
that.
one and he has to do another one before he goes? I thought that's what the
I
article
think it's
mentioned.
time for that, especially when we don't know when people are gonna start shooting again.
Mhm.
Let's see. Given his production schedule and what several insiders familiar with the project noted as considerable prep time for the cinematic feat, 50 year 58-year-old Cruise could well be over 60 by the time he straps into the
Mm,
SpaceX Dragon vessel and jets
mhm.
the ISS to make his call time on set.
Yep.
So yeah. But obviously this is going to require a lot of planning. They think
Oh
these
yeah,
things
no,
out
I mean,
for a while,
I wouldn't want them
so
to rush it.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess they do then have time to develop, whatever kind of quality script that they would want to do. I obviously they're not going to shy away from the fact that they're filming in space, so it'll be a space story, I imagine.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll see. We'll see. Kind of. I guess also how much of the movie ends up being shot in space. Is it just going to be like part of it? Is it going to be like a gravity type situation where 90% of the movie focuses around, two astronauts in space, and then, 10% is like back home, pre and
Yeah.
post launch kind of thing. So, or is
Yeah. I
it just
wonder
going
if
to
they
be like
do.
half the movie or.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if they make like an Apollo 13 sort of, but modern
Mhm.
day
Mhm.
kind of thing. So it's about the journey up there and stuff, or if it's like my mind instantly goes to the video game I'm playing, Prey, and like there's
Oh, right, right, right.
aliens that can be all different kinds of things, but that require a lot of effects. And I mean, the ISS isn't that big, so
Right.
how much?
And they
Yeah,
won't exactly have a lot of shooting room
yeah,
to do a whole
yeah.
lot. So, yeah, should be interesting. Like I will definitely go watch that movie for sure.
Mhm.
I will be fascinated to see what they can do. But yeah, little
I
little bit of
mean,
time coming.
I've always talked how some of my favorite things are the stuff that just take place in a room.
Yeah.
Largely, even the more recent movie with Daniel Craig and the all-star cast, Jamie Lee Curtis and
Knives Out?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, basically that could take place in a room. It takes
Mhm,
place in a mansion, and they
mhm.
go outside and stuff, but it could be in a room. There's different there's a Doctor Who episode that's on like one train car,
Oh,
and it could totally be this thing, a story of survival or whatever, power going out, all these things. And it's amazing how, you know, a creative person can sometimes make something so tense and
mhm.
spectacular in such a small set.
Well, yeah, I
So,
mean, I think a pretty amazing recent example is Brie Larson's helmed Room. Where
mm,
she's literally a mother trapped with her 5-year-old son. Well, he's 5 by the end of it. Um, but they've been kidnapped, and they have is the room that they live in. And they live in that room, and it's like this gripping, tense exploration of like how do you raise a child in like this tiny little space while also aware that you're being kidnapped, and like are you ever going to be let go, but like how do you like not let him know that because you don't want his life to be this constant fear. Like that's, I mean, a pretty great example of this tiny little space and what you can do with it as a director.
yeah. Yeah, there's lots of, I mean, the follow-up to that J.J. Abrams movie where aliens come and stuff. It's got John Goodman and stuff in it. That they're
Mm,
basically in a bunker the
yeah,
whole film. That's really good.
yeah.
Um, there's the one with
That's
James
not
McAvoy.
Cloverfield, is it?
It's the
It's
next
just
one after
the sequel?
Cloverfield.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. I can't
Technically,
remember
I
what
think
it's
it's a
called.
prequel time-wise, but
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it's Cloverfield
And
something, but yeah.
and then Shyamalan's movie with James McAvoy, most of that's in this 10
10
Cloverfield Lane.
Cloverfield
Yeah.
Lane. Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
So I think there's potential here. They got all
Yeah.
kinds of things they could do, and yeah,
Yeah, it'll be
it's
interesting
exciting.
to see how much they use it. Like I said, if the script is
Mm,
gonna be like 90%, we're gonna shoot this in the space station, and
yep.
take place there, and just briefly kind of video a pre and post launch kind of thing, or if it's gonna be like, 50-50 or something like that.
Mm.
Be very interesting.
I mean, if it's gonna be the former, just do a little like a TV special. Tom Cruise goes to space. Like just he just wants to go to space.
He totally
He
does.
can talk to Elon Musk, and they can just be on TV. Hey, tune in live and watch Tom Cruise get blasted into space.
I do
You
kind of
know?
actually wonder if they would do like a behind the scenes, like making of, and
Yeah.
how Tom Cruise would like be with that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's such a private person in a sense now that like
Yeah.
I feel like he'd have trouble with like a making of documentary, but it would be really cool to watch.
He just wants a shortcut to his own personal planet that
Totally.
Scientology guarantees him. So, like, he's just gonna bypass the space station, just keep going to his personal planet that he gets to rule.
Well, if he
That's-
brings a camera along, I'll still watch it.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Everyone that's been watching, thank you very much. Now, if you want to get into the real dirt, the real nitty gritty, the real
Far
entertainment,
from space.
far from space, though some of them are quite spacey at moments.
Yes,
Real Housewives of their corresponding cities,
that's right. The talk
on
starts now.
Bravo. Yeah, I am not. I I think I'm fully caught up.
Okay.
So, um, where do you want to start? You want Beverly Hills or New York?
Let's start with New York because I think that's less drama, and let's
Okay.
save the big drama for the end.
Okay.
So yeah, Real Housewives of New York. You're caught up. So they're in Mexico.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay. Yep. Then you're all caught up. Oh
Um,
boy, what a
so
messy start to a trip.
what do you think of Ramona and the
Yeah.
way that does she have a double standard with
Yes.
Leah in comparison to Sonia?
Totally. I mean, truly, like, I really don't understand this drama. Like, I understood that, I mean, Ramona was upset when, Leah was around her house and like throwing tiki torches and stuff. Like, I wouldn't exactly be happy about that.
Right.
Um, though I don't think she was the only one doing things like that kitchen being like a total hot mess. Like,
Right.
that was
Hmm.
like, I mean, to get real on
It's a
about Real
joint effort.
Housewives, like it was a joint effort, but also that was Sonia's vibrator in that plate of chicken that Ramona was like super upset and she like said nothing to Sonia about
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Like, so
Hmm.
yeah, I think there's been an established double standard of how she
Hmm.
treats, the other ladies versus how she treats Leah. Um, and I mean, I also get like her not being super thrilled about that dinner in Newport. Like Leah was a little cray cray. Was I entertained by it? Hell's yeah. Um, did I think it was like too trashy or terrible like compared to the other ladies and things that they've done? No. It was right on, par. For this, like I again can see Ramona not like loving what happened at her birthday party. And not like loving the fact that Leah was like dirty dancing with somebody else. But honestly, like that clearly wasn't the worst thing that happened that night. I mean, Sonia gets trashed, steps up on that glass mirror plate, shatters
Yep.
it, literally injures someone else as Dorinda shows her, like, she had to pick glass out of her foot. Was it terrible? Did it slice a toe off? No, but it wasn't great either
Right.
because somebody could have gotten hurt more seriously. And Ramona says nothing to Sonia about that.
Right.
Doesn't feel hurt about that, like the
Yeah.
destruction of property, and is somehow
Right.
like can't even talk to Leah about what she did because she's so hurt by it. That just proves to me you don't have a leg to stand on because like Leah tries to address it, I think, in a very calm, reasonable way at that,
Yep.
outside dinner that they're having. And she's just like, listen, like, I don't appreciate either the things that you did. And Ramona's all just like, I can't even talk about it. I'm so upset. And Leah's like,
I
well,
had
what
to
did I
cover her
do?
butt. I
Like,
had to pull her skirt down.
so what? Her butt was still covered. She had like a bodysuit underneath. Like, nobody saw anything. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not like she pulled up her skirt and there was nothing there, or there was, I mean, it was like more coverage than a thong. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I think this is really dumb. And
Yep.
I'm really sick of Ramona right now.
I mean, I understand. The funny thing is that this was the least um, crazy or offensive or whatever that Leah has been of these three
Right.
occasions, in my opinion, because
I agree.
the one she was wrecking things the first
Right.
time, the second one, it was in public, super embarrassing.
Mhm.
This third time was a private event.
Right.
Like it was a private event with only known entity, is people, her friends, her
Mhm.
50 friends. and her 50 close girlfriends, as she'll remind you.
Every
And
single time.
so, and all women, by the way, as well.
Right.
And so, like, what's the deal? Like,
Well,
other girls joined in,
yeah, I was
and
gonna say, like, if you watch the camera panning around the dance floor, it's not like these women were just like staidly swaying from side to side. Like some of these women were like really getting down with it. Like, so I don't understand why they would be embarrassed by Leah's behavior because they were doing some version of their own.
yep.
And why
And Leah
Ramona's like
that
so
night
concerned about it.
seemed to me like actually in control.
Yeah,
Whereas other nights, like she's just out of control. She
right.
seemed like she was more in control, and like they got more nuts just to like because Ramona was freaking out so much. All
Exactly.
of a sudden, Ramona starts flipping a gasket and like telling the producer, "Give me the producers, give me the producer, shut this down,
Yeah, it
shut
was
this
just
down."
so
And so then
weird.
Sony gets on the table and stuff. It's like, okay, now we're
Yeah,
gonna play this up because you're being nuts.
she was. She just
Hmm.
way overreacted.
Yeah.
Like and I just don't see the cause for it. I don't see her whole like Leah hurt me. And she doesn't
Right.
even seem to be able to explain it either. Like I said, every time it's brought up, it's like, I can't even talk about it. I'm so hurt.
If I
And
have
that
to
just means you
explain
have
it,
no leg to stand on.
yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah,
just
she
it's
was
just worse if I have to explain it. It's just even worse. Just
well, because
I
then I think she'll realize like how little of a leg she has to stand
stupid.
on, or like how little support she would get from the other ladies, because I
Yeah.
think they're already like over it.
Yep.
So,
And she didn't like go up to some rando that she
right,
didn't
exactly.
know
It was somebody
either.
she
Like
knew.
this was with Leanne there, and like
Right.
just yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that. And then the next and then the next night, Sonia is just
Oh,
drugged out. I don't know what. I don't know
she
what.
is trashed. Woo.
Firstly, I love that Dorinda so casually says she was just having some Coke with a little rosé in it.
Oh, that sounds
Ugh,
disgusting.
what is that?
And then she, like,
And
proves it by asking for it at dinner. Like, she asks for them to, like, make her that drink, and I was like, "Oh my god," like,
I
I
didn't
thought she was
catch that.
making it up. Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
disgusting.
But yeah, she's just running around nude everywhere, and and Ramona's getting ready with her and doesn't say anything, whatever.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm really over this, like, very hypocritical attitude that Ramona has, and I was
yeah.
also over her behavior at Luann's spa day, with those ladies, where she was, giving all these ladies who've been recently freed from incarceration a spa day and, kind of like
Mhm.
makeovers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was really over the whole just like total stonewall of Leah and just like pretending that she wasn't there and like pretending to continue to talk to Sonia. Like that almost felt so childish to me. It's
Yep.
like she's right there. She's trying to talk to you and she's trying to get this stuff out in the open. And you're just like literally pretending she's not there. Ridiculous. Like she keeps saying, like, she's so classy and she's so mature and she's a 63-year-old woman, but she never acts like it.
No. She's missing Bethany to put her in her place more often.
Mhm. Sure.
So okay, well that's New York.
Yes.
And that's the big issues there. Um Beverly Hills. So I've been always a
Big
little
one.
depressed in watching this show recently
Yeah.
because it's so down and dark or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but I have to say, I was on the edge of my seat during this episode,
I agree.
last episode.
I agree. Yeah, obviously we had the big reveal to Denise's face about the fact that Brandy Glanville has been telling people that they had an affair and that
Mhm.
Denise tried to cover it up, but Brandy won't do it anymore. So,
Who's telling the truth here? You settle this right now. Who is it?
I think mostly Denise.
Okay.
Mostly. Like
Mm.
here's my thoughts. Like I guess or here's my sort of like like I don't know, evidence or, case in my head. Um I don't think that Denise would, with her kids just downstairs and like
Mhm.
Aaron supposedly in the next room or on his way or something. I don't know that she would like, and kids having friends over, I think she said too. I don't know
Yeah.
that she would like hook up with someone like right upstairs and like have this like random secret affair. Do I think maybe they like got drunk and like maybe made out a little bit? Yeah,
Mhm.
I see that being in the realm of possibility. And like for Brandy, she has a long track record of like hitting on other housewives, especially when she's
Right.
drunk. She like feels people up, like dances, gets on them. Like they show
Mhm.
that flashback where she's like grabbing Dorit's boobs. Just, I've just met you, but
Yep.
hey, let me just like feel you up. Um, so yeah, so I mean, do I think like nothing happened? No. Do I think they slept together? I don't know that I buy that. I also read some like background stuff where Brandy Glanville was trying to like release text messages that prove that, she was there
Mhm.
and like Denise invited her over. But it's actually Brandy's text message that says, like, oh, hey, like my producers are sending a car and stuff. And why don't I just stay with you? And, it'll be cheaper that way. And, we can just like be together. And Denise is like, I guess, sure. Like I'll call in for a rollaway cot or whatever. And so I was like, that's your proof that you guys like she came
Right.
on to you, like that's not what happened there. So, I don't
Yeah.
know.
There's receipts are all smudgy. Can't make
Yeah.
them out anymore.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, do I think nothing happened? Probably not. But I don't know that I would go like this far of like there's a secret affair and like Denise and Aaron she like understood that Denise and Aaron have an understanding that she could be with girls. But then all of a sudden Denise is like, "Oh no, like I can't, just kidding. Like my husband will kill me."
Yeah.
Like I don't know, that sounds weird and flip-floppy.
Yeah. I guess I would agree that it's probably not nothing, just
Mhm.
because in, in the way that Denise reacted,
Yeah.
um, when it, I think that if you were completely, it was completely unfounded, you would have been more shocked.
Mhm.
So like she at least had heard the rumor or
Oh
something,
yeah. Yeah.
at least had heard. So maybe that's the thing. And she should have said, I've heard this going around before. It's
Right.
absolutely not true or whatever. But she's like, I didn't do that before they even said what that
Mhm.
was.
Yeah.
And now it could just be a slip up in terms of I just didn't do whatever, I didn't do all this, but it didn't
Right.
look good. It
Yeah.
didn't look good. I was happy with, honestly, in this, how the women largely handled it, though.
Mhm.
Like, no one was, like, they treated it seriously, the
Mhm.
accusation during the dinner. And
Mhm.
I like that Rena is like, yeah, I learned from the past in
Yeah.
like calling out
Like I'm not going to do
Munchausen's
this.
for, yeah. So, and clearly Erica was shocked and
Mhm.
she didn't like, yeah. So I was pleasantly surprised with that. I would have been a little like, someone should have said, well, just because Brandy says it, like, doesn't make
Yeah.
it true, you know? But,
Yeah, Dorit kind of
yeah.
took that position a little bit, like, or she was trying to get there, I think,
Yeah,
when Kyle
right.
kind of
Yep,
interrupted her. Um, I actually, this
yep.
was the first time I sort of really, I've been getting to like Sutton a little bit more and more as the show
Yes.
has gone on, and I really appreciated her stance here, like in her confessional where she's talking about like, I had heard that rumor, but I didn't think it was anything to bring up at a dinner table. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like she was like,
Yep,
I don't see that we needed to do this here. I don't need see that Teddy needed to treat it this way in the way that she
yep.
did. Um, and I agreed with that, I think. I mean, the way that Teddy brought it up, I didn't like. She did this sort of like weird teasing
Sure.
thing where she like talked about all this other stuff and then
Yeah,
she's like, and there's one more thing, and it's so
yeah.
bad. It's so bad. And I
It's
was
just as
like,
bad as her dress.
oh my god, that was
Ugh.
awful. She looked terrible. And I mean, I know you're pregnant and you're limited in your selection, but
Yeah,
that is
right.
not
Still.
it.
Nope.
She looked twice as large in that dress, which oof, girl, not
Bad,
not working.
bad.
Um, but yeah, I didn't appreciate the way that she talked about it, how it was so bad. Um,
Mhm.
because it weirdly sort of made her seem like it wasn't just about the affair, it was about like a girl affair. And
Mhm.
I don't know, the whole tone of the way she talked about it was off-putting to me. And
I
when
figured.
Sutton was like, I think she brought it up this way because honestly, she's hurt by what supposedly was said about her, and she's got a thing about being under her dad's shadow, and that's a trigger for her, and she probably just like
Mhm,
then decided to lash out and hurt somebody else. I was like, yeah, that seems pretty plausible to me.
mhm. Well, and that stuff with the, I mean, that stuff is tough because,
Hmm.
you're going to be in this group of friends or whatever, and clearly have issues with people or whatever. And it's one thing for something bigger like this or whatever, if you're being made to keep a giant like secret or something that
Hmm.
against your will. But stuff like talking behind someone else's back, if you're just going to start airing all that stuff to just
Right.
the other, I mean, just what a jerk,
Yeah.
like if that's true or not or whatever, like people can vent their frustrations about whoever, and that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that someone else should just go around and tell everybody else like that's what they think now about you, or
Right.
whatever. um so I mean, understandably, Denise has probably said some things and been pretty upset with a lot of these ladies at this point.
Right.
So, but you gonna hold that against her now because you've been on the out sometimes. So,
Right. Well, and honestly, like who hasn't said things about other people, both on camera and in confidence? Like
right.
Kyle has been pretty nasty in her confessionals about Dorit
Yeah.
this season. And if I was
About
Dorit
Dorit, you think?
watching that
Yeah.
back, yeah, I mean, when she like makes fun of her at the Trevi Fountain, like posing and whatever, it just like felt like a
Oh yeah.
continuation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And her like whole like, oh, Dorit's gonna come back with a new accent and she's speaking Italian and blah blah blah. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's maybe a little show offy, but I also kind of think it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
if you speak another language and you're in that country, do it. Like, that's awesome. Good for
Yes.
you.
It exactly. That's what we thought too. We talked about that. It's like, yeah, it is show offy. It's a little pretentious, but I would totally do that. If you're fluent in
Right.
another language, like not only will they appreciate that,
Right.
but like get the practice in while you can,
Exactly.
while it
And
makes sense,
it's not like she's like taking over and being like, I'll talk for the group, or like, she's talking to the
Yeah.
waiter for everybody or something. You know what I mean? Like that to me would be like, oh, okay, like I don't love that. Um,
Right.
but doing it for herself, like, go on, go do it. That's awesome. Good for
Yep.
you.
Yep.
So
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I'm Dorit biased, so you have to tamp me back if I like know, I'm too in favor of her sometime if she does something wrong. I didn't like her hair thing that she put in.
the
Her whole outfit
curls,
was nice, but the little thing, yeah, I didn't
yeah,
care for that.
it was a little
But it was a
extra.
lot better than Erica's neck brace.
Oh my god.
She's trying to look
Yeah.
like Boy George there, as if
Yeah.
he fell down a staircase.
Yeah, that just
So
didn't work for me. Like the outfit could have, but the headwear was
yeah.
it just took it to a different place. By
Mhm.
contrast though, I loved her dinner outfit. That like big
Yes.
voluminous skirt and like like
Yep.
all of that totally worked for me. She looked
I didn't need
amazing.
the veil, but yeah,
Like
I did.
yeah, I didn't need it, but like it wasn't terribly distracting either. You know what I
I
mean? Like
said I
it
didn't
could
need
have
the veil,
been
and Ashley
more.
I said I need the veil, and Ashley says, "I wore a veil in my wedding." Like it's like I know you did, but that was a wedding. This isn't a wedding, okay?
Yeah.
This is a black veil, so yeah. But
I don't know. I thought it was kind of fun. Like
yeah, no, for
I
sure. It's like
yeah, it didn't
I,
need to be there, but again, it was like less distracting than it could have been.
I like that they take chances when they
Yeah.
go someplace different like this and do something, like they say, glam it up or whatever. That's
Right.
it's fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah, we'll see how this Roman trip continues. I am
yeah.
interested to see where we go from here. I mean, I thought everybody sort of handled that dinner very maturely, like, okay, this is going around, we're clearly not going to resolve it, let's not
Mm,
catfight it out in the middle of this
yeah.
restaurant. some of us are just going to go to bed and some of us are going to go drink in the bar. Cool. Like
Do you
we'll
want a
pick it up
minor
another time.
spoiler? Do you want a minor spoiler?
Sure.
I think Ashley thought she'd heard that this trip
Mm.
gets cut short because it's
Oh.
filming when stuff starts to outbreak. They get their outbreak.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
think.
I already noticed some of the confessionals shifting to like being taped at home and
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Yep. hmm
So I figured that was kind of coming, but that's a bummer.
So we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
hmm
Are you going to try Potomac? That starts tomorrow.
I've watched a couple episodes of Potomac, so I
Okay.
might.
Okay.
Like we'll see. I think I might give it a shot. The episodes I watched were good. I mean, it was very hard because obviously again, I'm being thrown in the middle of it and they weren't even like start of the season episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give it a shot.
It looks like we're going to get more controversy about Michael cheating on his wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to get more of that.
That was definitely some of the main episodes I watched were about Michael. So
Okay.
interested to
Yeah,
see
and
how
then
that
looks like there's a
saga
new
plays out.
girl. There's a new lady in the
Okay.
group. So, I mean, I'll give it a try because I watch them all because they have problems. So, but yep. Okay. Well, if you're still with us after that, you're our number one fan. You're the best. That I think covers it pretty much for this week. Like, sorry we were off a week last week. That was my fault. But
how dare you vacation?
I know. I had a couple clips that posted during the week, so I'll go and check those out if you haven't. They're pieces of past episodes. Maybe it'll entice you to watch the rest of the featured episodes.
That's right.
Otherwise, we'll be back for like the end of season 1 of Doom Patrol in the middle of the week. So probably Wednesday we'll be talking the last 4 episodes and wrap up our thoughts there.
Yeah, it'll be pretty big.
And then make the call if we're going to move right into season 2 or not. So that'll be that. Thank you, Killing the Flower, for our theme song. You should go and check them out on Instagram and on Spotify. Thanks, Fitness Trainer 845, for tuning in. And I haven't listened to it. I'm not like, I don't know that it's a thing that's for me because I played a little bit of basketball over vacation, but Fitness Trainer has a basketball podcast.
Oh, cool.
The Basketball Teacher podcast.
All
so
right.
I don't know. Go and take a look at that. We appreciate them stopping by.
Absolutely.
And share, review us on all of the things here on Twitch, on YouTube, Facebook, follow us on Twitter, all that stuff. Check out our website. That's fun. Give us feedback. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Gladiator style.
Talk. Yeah. Less Housewives talk. I mean, if you tell us less Housewives talk, I'm not sure we're going to listen anyways. Because frankly, everybody's been getting off easy. We haven't been talking about Housewives. So,
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gone as in-depth as we totally could. So.
No, right, exactly. So, anyways, that's been it for episode 28 of Popcast on the Rocks. I am John. This is Andrea, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you. See you later, everybody.